Welcome to another nickel clip tutorial by Wendy Vasquez with QU Easy Instruction. Today's topic is going to be a special. This was a requested topic. It's for Keystones for schools within Broward County. So therefore this will be longer than 5 minutes. Let's begin with what are Keystones. Keystones are the third grade formative assessments. There are 8 of them. There are 4 that are based off of reading informational. There's World of Wonders, Flavors of Mexico. This is the new one that has replaced the old one. Spine or No Spine, and What's Your Function. The other 3 are completely the same as last year. In literature, we have Giving a Hand, Crying Wolf, Treasure Hunt, Dollars and Cents. For our purposes, I'm going to be talking about the informational keystones and the literature keystones as we go forward. In Broward, teachers have been provided a template for each of the keystones, 4 for literature and 4 for informational. However, I can use one template for all 4 literature and one informational template for all 4 informational keystones. It's really up to me and my decision as a teacher. The point of using the template and using it ahead of time is so that we take that off of the table for the students, so that it is not something brand new that the students need to learn as they're also trying to take this formative assessment. Let's take a look at the Crying Wolf template. Each one of the templates is in a Word document format so that you can go in and adjust it or change it as you see fit or as your needs require. Personally, Crying Wolf is one of the fables, so the whole section is set around fables. I would go in and remove the title Crying Wolf and Keystone and just use this same template with my students prior to giving them the formative assessment. So it's very easy. They're going to give a title of a magazine and a description of the boy using the 3 details to describe him. So they're describing the main character. They're going to describe the actions. They're going to and how they contribute to the next event. So there's 3 of them. They're going to write 4 details describing or adding to their illustration that they're including here. They're going to identify the message of the fable and give 2 supporting details. And within all of that, they need to include 4 or more words and phrases from the text. So these are more domain-specific words. Prior to the assessment, my choice would be to use this same template with a different fable and model how all of these are going to be filled in. What is it going to look like? After I've modeled it once with the class, with the students, I'm going to do another one where they're going to work in groups or independently, depending on my students. After I've done this for a week or 2 weeks, I can now look at my class and judge which students will need reteaching and which students are ready for the assessment. Once I am assured of my students being ready for the assessment, then I will give them the Crying Wolf assessment. However, the template will no longer be new to them. If I continue using this same template, I can use it with all 4 of the literature formative assessment keystones. I've pulled up the Flavors of Mexico template. You'll notice that it looks a little bit different because it does handle different standards. The informational keystones, all 4 of them, have the same 4 standards amongst the 4 of them. The 4 literature keystones they all assess the same 4 standards for them as well. One is going to do RI standards, one is going to do RL standards. Here, I'm going to use this with my students with a different piece of text, and we're going to find the main idea and 4 details. We're going to create, in this case, 3 illustrations, with 3 details each, and then 4 text features that will support their report. And honestly, this is more of a planning page for them to later create a report. Now, for our purposes for Keystones, for submission for the portfolio, they don't actually have to create the report. They can. However, they can plan it all out here, and you can take this as their portfolio submission, or their Keystone submission. Additionally, the 4 words or phrases, domain specific words, vocabulary should be included throughout. I usually have my children highlight those words. Now, because the Keystones are part of your instruction, you may take a grade for the Keystones, as well as anything that you did leading up to giving the Keystone. So for example, if I had another text on something in Canada, obviously this is social studies, 3rd grade, Caribbean, Canada, and Mexico. I might do this with a text about Canada, another text about the Caribbean, and take grades in social studies and even reading or language arts for those, all of those. And then when I do my flavors of Mexico, I can take grades on flavors of Mexico as well, because this is, Keystones are part of your instruction. Here you can see I pulled up the actual Keystone for the flavors of Mexico. You're going to see the GRASPS model, GRASPS. My teachers, I tell them they can change anything in this product. They can do a blog, a culture report, a speech, a demonstration, any other alternative performance idea. The point is that it's something that the students are familiar with and not something brand new. If my students have never made a speech, created or written a speech, then I won't have them create a speech. You'll notice here that there are some alternative performance ideas suggested. You can use any or all of these, or you can choose something on your own that the students are already familiar with. You'll notice that the standards are provided for you here under standards and criteria for success. All 4 standards will be the same in all informational Keystones. There's a teacher rubric provided for easy grading for all 4 standards. The text is also attached, and a student rubric is available, a student checklist or rubric, so that students can become comfortable checking their own work. Let's talk about a few tips and tricks for Keystones with our virtual learners. If you have availability to use Canvas, we have provided, or I have provided, something in Commons. So if you go into Commons, it's down the left navigation side pane, and you search for Keystone. You'll notice my module here called Keystone Submission. And let me make this a little bit bigger so that you can see the entire page. You'll notice here it has simply 8 assignments. Keystone Submission Part 1, RI Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, and Literature RL Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you import this into one of your courses, let me show you my course. I will show you what it looks like. In my homeroom course, I've uploaded it. And it looks just like that, Keystone Submissions. Part 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the RIs. All you have to do is now copy this and move it into the course that you need. So I put it in my homeroom because that's not where my students do their assignments. They do it in their language arts or social studies, but I can go ahead and copy this because I'm going to be using this 4 times, these same ones. So I just copy and rename. And this is what it looks like. The first part of the RI was, what is the main idea? So what is the main idea of the text? Blank. The good thing about this is that I can also use this as practice. So if we have a practice text that we're using, they can go ahead and submit here as well. I'm going to go into student mode. There we go. And I would edit this, put the name of the title, and then say type your answers in the text box. When you hit submit assignment, this will open the text box and it fits right there. Let me leave student view. Now this is pretty straightforward for all of the courses. Here are the 4 key details, 1, 2, 3, 4. Highlight the words that you use. Now this is for that vocabulary standard that we're all that we need to talk about. Here's your domain specific vocabulary words again. This one's the illustrations. It's really hard for our students to turn this in virtually. So one way that I like to do this is on a piece of paper, they can draw their own illustrations. And then here are the directions for the student to use their webcam. So they can go ahead and submit and use their webcam and actually show their submission to you and describing it to you. That's going to leave a little mini movie in here for when you're in SpeedGrader. You're going to actually just watch their little video and you can keep them points, and Canvas actually archives all of these submissions. So you don't have to worry about archival of submissions. And then the last one is the text features that you'll use in your report. And it also gives me a way for them to do that as just like they would a picture. They can actually do their illustration with their captions or their sidebars. They can draw that out on paper and submit it through the web. Now that's all good if you have Canvas. What if you don't? If you don't have Canvas, you're going to want to look at other ways to do this. You could be doing this in your Teams or your Zoom and recording. I would not do this whole group. I would do little breakout sessions and bring my students in one at a time to record that section. The main idea and the other parts that are not the pictures can be turned in through email submissions. However, there is one more app that I like to use. It's called Whiteboard FI. If you haven't used this, it is free. It doesn't cost anything to use the basic functions. You just create a new class. Keystone sample, I'm just going to call this class. I'm going to start my whiteboard. It creates my room. And now it's waiting for my students. So I just copy this URL and I can paste that in for a student. Let's see. If I paste that, it's gonna let them log in. And then I can go ahead. Whoops, I want to toggle to my whiteboard. I can actually put that template here for them. So I have a picture of part of my template, and up here I can use all of these. The students, it looks exactly the same way. They can draw, they can choose their colors, but I am going to, here we go, here it is, little picture. I'm going to find my template. You'll notice I have the template here. I'm going to flatten the image. And flattening it will turn it into a background. It's a little blurry right now. It's not a great copy, but you get the idea. And then I can send this out to the students. The students can see my copy, but I can also push this out to all of my students as a background page. And what that means is they won't be able to move it. They can't change it. They can't erase what I wrote, but they can draw. So I'm going to choose a color and I'm going to draw my picture. And I'm an excellent artist, just like all of our third graders are. And they can do this. There's my little house. I'm not sure what I'm drawing, but that's okay. But then they can also click on the A and write, because remember we want 3 details. So they can say, number 1, He was tall. You get the idea. So they can write or type all in here. I'm going to go ahead and do this again. There we go. Main idea. Okay. But you get the idea. So this is a way that I can do that. And at the very end, once they have all, they can see mine. So I'm probably not going to give them the answers, but I can also see all of their student work down here at the bottom. What I'll do at the very end is, oh, and I will only do one of these sections at a time. But I will click on the gear and then save all whiteboards as a PDF. So here's going to be a custom note, and I'm going to say this was Flavors of Mexico, part 1, because we just did the main idea, let's say. And I'm going to include the teacher's whiteboard and save it as a PDF. It's going to pop up, and it's going to show what I did here. It will also have all of the students. I don't have anyone signed in at the moment, so it's not going to show you anything. But here's another way that you can do your assignment together. The students can't look at each other's work, but you can see and watch them do their part. I would go ahead and have them do one part today, another part tomorrow, the third part the next day, maybe go in the fourth day and finish things up. I can also do this with a previous story so that the story's not the problem and we can just learn what all of these parts are supposed to look like. That way I also know who I need to reteach for. So this was Keystones for Broward Teachers, Public and Charter. I know it wasn't 5 minutes, but we kept it under 20. I was your host, Wendy Vasquez, and if you have any further questions, you know where to reach me. I hope this was helpful.